culture is the lens through which everything happens, unfolds. Now that we're in schools, we have people's attention, we're getting a lot more ambitious.
Shining a light, not on necessarily that negative side, but you are shining the light on, hey, these women are being represented. These young people are being represented. We need Med Device Boston is your go-to med tech sourcing and education expo, September 30th through October 1st at Boston's BCEC. Engineered to advance the next generation of medical device innovation, this event unites 200 plus suppliers, 1,500 plus attending professionals, and OEM decision makers in the number 3 med tech hub in the US. Explore everything from 3D printing and AI to materials, regulatory tech, and contract manufacturing, all under one roof. Visit meddeviceboston.com to register and plan your visit. Links in the show notes. Kate Glantz, welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Properly caffeinated, ready to go.
Cheers. We should have done this in person. We're like less than 15 miles from each other, but we should have done this in person. Anyway, glad you're here. For those of you who don't know who Kate is, you've been living under a rock. This woman is an absolute rock star. I have been lucky enough to meet her in person. Was at her event for her very, very cool recent release party for her magazine, Move Over Bob. So I am very honored, a little starstruck and like giddy today with having you on. So I'm really excited to learn more about you, talk about some of the things that are going on that you see in the trades, all of that kind of fun stuff. But first, we have a little fun. We get to know who Kate is through an icebreaker. So Kate, if your life were a movie, what genre would that movie be? Who would play you? And what would the opening scene be?
Great questions. Okay. It would definitely be a choose your own adventure.
Ooh,
or
all right.
An adventure with like the right amount of quirky rom-com, because we can be many things at one time.
Yes.
Who would play me? I would say, I don't know if this still holds up, but I used to, it probably doesn't, man, the late 30s hit you hard, but I used to get the Marianne Cotillard reference a little.
100%. Okay, that's who it is, because I've been like, who is that famous person she reminds? It's Marianne. Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Holds up. And the opening scene, I mean, it would probably be me either in the back of an old pickup truck, on a train, somewhere like in not America, like traveling somewhere on a whim. I have a extensive track record of picking up and going to new countries, both to visit and to live sight unseen. So that is the vibe we're working with here.
Okay, now we definitely have to unpack your story a little bit more. But before we do that, we've had our fun. This is the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I do have to ask you about culture in some way, shape, or form more directly than we'll talk about later in the show. So what does culture mean to Kate Glantz? As far as not necessarily a definition from a dictionary, right? But what does it mean to you?
Well, in short, everything. I mean, culture is the lens through which everything happens, unfolds, and follows, right? And so culture is the North Star by which I pretty much operate professionally. And I'm sure we'll dive into some of obviously what I'm building now in culture. But I really believe that culture is a catalyst, and to achieve anything downstream from it, to achieve any policies, any behavior change, really any type of shift, you have to be playing in culture and leveraging the power of culture to get it done in a timely fashion. And so, yeah, in short, it's everything. And I'll say maybe my favorite quote is from Joan Didion. And she said, "We tell ourselves stories in order to live." And I think
Mm.
that a lot of times when you hear culture or storytelling, it becomes, people can write it off very quickly as that's not my thing. I work in construction. That's fluff. I
Yes.
don't understand that. No, like literally our DNA, how we exist as humans is based on storytelling. Before there was a laptop or a
Yes.
pen or a scroll, whatever, it was the power of story. And we don't turn that off when we walk into an office or a job site.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So along those lines, and kind of playing into your first answer as well, um, you've you have a very storied career, right? You have stories to tell. You've done a lot of things, from chamber foundations to lift to, like, I couldn't even list all of the experiences you've had. what what drives you? What has been that single thing that you can say has driven you, and then pulled you into this stage of your career in your life?
thank you for that question. I'll try to keep it focused because there's so much within that. But if you look at my LinkedIn or my resume, you might say, wow, that's either seven different people masquerading as one, or that's a person who has no idea who she is or what she's doing. But once you get one layer deeper, or you give me 30 seconds to explain it to you, I can tell you that every decision I've ever made professionally and also personally, because I think for me as an entrepreneur, those things are very interlinked, but
Yes.
it's always been predicated on my why and like what moves me and how I want to spend my life on this planet, whatever time I've got. And it really is in service of leaving it better than I found it. That has always been like, even as a little kid, I was always really service minded, volunteer focused. I was a Peace Corps volunteer at 22, right out of college. So, really, like leaving the world kinder, safer, healthier, more prosperous than I found it was kind of before I had like real nuance to it, just always the direction I took. And now, as I've progressed in my career over the last 15 years or so, I have gotten a little more focused. And I would say like helping women achieve financial independence is really my why. I have a lot of whys, but like professionally, that's the one that I feel like is almost it's almost the most important domino. Like when women
Okay.
have financial security, families do better, she does better, there's just healthier and people are safer, all the things. And in the world we live in, I'm a realist that if you don't have money, you don't have as many choices. And I just want everyone to have a choice. And so looking at that objective broadly and then like, okay, cool, that sounds great, right? But how do you achieve it? I really think this moment that we're at, that is being framed as a crisis, which it is one, it's also an opportunity. And entrepreneurs don't see problems, they see opportunities, right? And so
Absolutely.
how might we seize this moment when we have half our workforce, on their way to retirement, construction and craft labor workforce, so more broad than construction, obviously. But how do we actually look at this half of the talent pool that's never been reached and say, not only is this like a macro opportunity to, help secure our national economy, like our economy, our infrastructure, our prosperity as a nation, but then what kind of opportunities are we unlocking for women to be able
Yes.
to not just contribute to all of that in very meaningful ways, but also their own financial futures. So
Yeah.
that's sort of where I landed. And so, like, yeah, my why when I was young wasn't I want to get more women into skilled trades. That's evolved as I have never strayed from my overall objective of helping kind of, like what I talked about, like helping women win and sort of leaving it better than I found it. And this is the chapter I'm in right now.
So what led to that overarching why I mean, not a whole lot of young people, young women wake up one day and are like, I am going to be this bastion for equity and those kinds of things. What led you to this path?
I mean, I didn't wake up and say I'm going to be a bastion, but I like that. No, it's been a one foot in front of the other, and I have to say, like, for me, I would rather try and fail any day of the week than sit back, accept the status quo, complain about it, and always wonder and kind of shake my fist and say, I probably could have done that better, or I could have,
Yeah.
tried. So I have a different like value set, and I think like that's something I'm always kind of making sure I let people know is like I don't expect people to I'm not necessarily like an example or a model of someone to like follow in my footsteps of what I'm doing. I very much have a unique journey that is one of one, but like you do too, right? And so like
Yeah.
understanding your own rubric for what makes you feel content and alive and valuable and happy and all of that aligned is hopefully what I am able to let people grasp, because I mean very few people probably want to live the life I do. It's very volatile by choice, because I love risk. I love very high risk endeavors. I like to take, I'd rather hit the grand slam or strike out than hit singles. And so that's definitely, not something I kind of lost track of the question, but all that to say is that like I rather would just go for it
Yeah.
and learn as I go and, be humble about what I don't know rather than wait for someone else to step in and figure it out.
I love that. And I think that could be the title of this episode, Volatile by Choice. That screams name of this episode. So, Kate, you founded this magazine, Move Over Bob. The first time I found out about it, I immediately reached out to you, just because I think this is so amazingly cool and so very needed. In any trade, right? In any skilled trade. Um, you started this based on earlier conversations you and I have had. You co-founded it to change those perceptions of women in the trades overall, overarching. Yet we're still facing this chronic labor shortage, this retirement cliff, this silver tsunami, whatever you want to call it. Why do you think the industry, and this can go for any of the industrials, why do you think we failed so bad to recruit women at scale?
Well, I think that the problem is broader than recruiting women at scale. I think it's recruiting young people at scale. And that was, I came up in school in the 90s and early 2000s, and shop class did not exist by the time I got to high school. And
Right.
I college was a good choice for me. Like I'm glad I went. I also went to trade school, but I did the college path first because it was the only option. And it was binary. It was college or it was minimum wage. That's it. Like you have no future. And obviously that is very untrue. And I sort of joke, I'm like, yeah, the college industrial complex or big college, right, has the best PR campaign in America. And that actually turned the tide on framing the trades as what they are, like essential, dignified, important work. And that's also why culture is so important, right? Is like we can't just give you the facts, like you're going to get paid well and this job is dynamic. Like we're going up against monster narratives in culture that aren't just impacting young people who have pretty good stigmas still afloat
Yeah.
about what it looks like, not just for girls but for everyone,
Yeah.
and then their parents too. But I think that a lot of times it's easier, getting back to the young women piece, to just categorize things in gender norms. It's a little bit lazy. I think with the democratization of like, well, technology has democratized how we can use tools and how we can do jobs.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a insufficient argument to say men are stronger, which if you kind of peel back the layers, that is basically the argument, right? And I'm not gonna deny that, I just don't get into these conversations, right? Like, yeah, I'm not in
Right.
this to prove women are stronger physically than men. That's not what this is about. We just, given that construction is predominantly men, it's 89%, when you're looking at construction broadly, and 95% across trades. That fluctuates depending on the trade, but there aren't many messengers. So
Yeah.
it's like, how would a 61-year-old man, right, who's done this for 40 years, who has so much advice and and so much to give to the next generation. How can we expect him to resonate with a 15-year-old girl or
Yeah.
boy, right? So what we're really missing is messengers. And that is what Move Over Bob is all about. We don't train young women. We are not a community nonprofit. Like, there are a ton of resources out there, and they are waiting for young women and young men to raise their hand and apply. It's just a massive awareness gap. And again, these like cultural narratives of who this is for and who this isn't for, which is
Yeah.
why we're really bringing tradeswomen into the center of mainstream culture, not just construction culture, because that's not where girls currently are. We need to reach
Right.
them where they're already, which is, of course, scrolling on their phone. But that is almost an insurmountable challenge right now to reach any majority of young women with this type of content. So we get them in schools. And so
Yeah.
I will note, like, Move Over Bob magazine is just sort of a piece of our broader focus and company. Like, we're definitely not a magazine company. And I think people are like, whoa, like print 2025, you crazy. And yeah, it ain't cheap, but it's the only way that like we felt like we could reach young women in mass at moments, at critical inflection points when they're sort of figuring out what comes next for them. And when the teachers, guidance, the guidance counselors, CTE directors, all of this, they are grasping for relevant materials to put in front of their students. So
Yeah.
this is basically kind of step one of our cultural renaissance for the trades and
Yeah.
tip of the spear, but by no means like the whole vision for what we're trying to achieve.
You may be thinking, why do I need to attend Med Device Boston? Because you're going to do more than browse. You'll build your pipeline. You'll see, you'll touch, and you'll engage with innovative solutions from 200 plus suppliers while participating in hands-on workshops, expert-led education sessions, and curated matchmaking, all engineered to accelerate your projects. Whether you're solving design, regulatory, or production challenges, Med Device gives you key conversations, timely insights, and the tools to move forward. Med Device Boston. Advance your pipeline, advance your network, advance what's next. Well, and I'll say, and I won't harp on me moments too much because this is all about you. But I did let my daughter, who's 15, read this magazine, and she walked away thinking it was the coolest thing. And I get a little like emotional about it because it's that representation. It's those moments of being able to look in a magazine like that and see just badass women doing jobs that they typically haven't been represented in. And for her and her friends and her generation, my daughter plays basketball, but she didn't take it seriously until she had that person that she saw who represented who she was in Paige Beckers as like that idol. And I think back to my childhood. I didn't think I could do certain things until I saw myself represented in those moments. And so this opportunity that you're providing them, but I'm going to take it even one step further. My 11-year-old son also read this magazine, also thought it was really cool. And for him to be able to then put women in jobs that traditional gender norms don't let him frame those thoughts in is just as important in my opinion as my daughter seeing herself represented in that magazine. Is that kind of the goal? I mean, because you've mentioned both young men and young women in this conversation so far. Is that the goal, is to normalize it for the young men and give that person the ability to feel seen on the young women's side?
100%. Yeah. And because this is in 350 plus schools across Arizona, number of nonprofits, public libraries, women's prisons, we are for sure in front of young men and adult men too, right? Like, the powerful thing about print is that you can't swipe it away with a millisecond, right? Like, that thing is tactile. You are touching it, you're flipping through it, you're pulled in. Maybe you get one thing out of this magazine, right, that sticks with you. And young men I'm actually hearing really great anecdotal evidence that they are retaining things from this, because nothing about this magazine is only for girls. It's that women are the messengers for the first time. All of this information is about how much you get paid, what is the career path, what is an apprenticeship. Did you know, like, most kids don't know that you don't need to take out student loans for an apprenticeship? That's there, like, the misconceptions are alarming. And so really this information is valid for everyone. And if you flip the script, right, like, most of my role models growing up were boys and men because that's who I saw
Yeah.
in pop culture and in media. But it didn't make me think like, yeah, I don't know. I think like it's the goal is to normalize it for sure. And like where I'm coming from, like I worked in tech and Hollywood and a lot of, real more like mainstream consumer media type environments. And I dream of a world where the lead of a TV, of a sitcom is she's a plumber, but the storyline has nothing to do with how, like about her being a female plumber. She's just a plumber. There are many steps on our journey to get to that like utopia or that
Yeah.
mountaintop. But that is where I see like what I see is essential. But consumer brands also have a massive role to play. And as a marketer, I'm very, very, very excited to not just be in our echo chamber of the construction industry, which has been so supportive and I'm so grateful. And they're the day ones for sure. But to really crack the code on culture, you got to be where culture is being made. And that is
Yeah.
in commercials, on, through more just like mainstream channels where kids already are.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the trades, I mean, it encompasses so much from construction to welding, and welding can go from fabrication and manufacturing to construction, right? There's such a wide swath of what industrial or skilled trades looks like. And, uh, this first edition definitely is geared more construction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's wonderful. And so what are your plans for the future to incorporate different more trades, whatever that looks like, to the publication?
Yeah, that is what I'm most excited about. The first issue was in a lot of ways a kind of it was an intro to like the most common licensed trades, roofing, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. And sort of like a hi, we're here. Now that we're in schools, we have people's attention, we're getting a lot more ambitious. And so I'm really excited for our winter issue. So this will come out quarterly, but 3 times tied to the school year. We skip summer. And also the goal is to bring this to a national audience. After these first 3 issues in Arizona teach us a lot. But
Yeah.
what I'm really excited about for winter and moving forward is that we're not just focusing on trades. We're now intersecting that with the industries where these trades are, in demand. And so for
Awesome.
winter, we're focused on welding, ironworkers, and heavy machinery operators. And then
Awesome.
the industries that we're, exposing young people to are data centers, semiconductors, mining, and civil infrastructure. And so we're able to actually then show like, what is a semiconductor? What is a chip? What is a fab? What are these things? Like, in a relatable way, so that when kids are hearing these buzzwords actually can lead to 6-figure salaries, right? Like a few years out of high school. And if kids don't even know the name of what this industry is or that it's important in Arizona, what a huge opportunity gap and cost. And so I'm really excited to be looking like holistically at the state of our like economic trends, right? Like where is there opportunity? Where is there demand? And how do we sort of thread that needle to make sure young people can accelerate their path toward these things and actually just map their interest to what these professions and pathways hold? Because I think that's another big thing is maybe they're 14 and not ready to think about working at a data center or whatever, but maybe they know, oh, I like this type of hands-on stuff, I'm very technical, and that can start orienting them to maybe a CTE class they hadn't considered or maybe a summer program. And that's
Yeah.
that's the goal here, is opening their minds to the possibilities, not being prescriptive that every kid needs to go into a skilled trade.
I love it. I love it. You said something earlier about technology kind of becoming this leveling field, I guess. Just to paraphrase you, I don't remember exactly, but it's changing the job site. It's leveling the field in some way, shape, or form, from automation and prefab design, AI design tools, etc. Um, do you think that that technology is really able to help make these fields more accessible to women, and is it going to draw more young people into young people in general, not just young women, but people into the trades, because we're meeting them where they want to be met instead of asking them to adopt to old ways?
I think technology is a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, but not maybe in the way you might be thinking I mean it. So first, yes, I'll always say like work smarter, not harder. So if technology can, make your work less physical, like work on your body less demanding, if there's any way to make it a more sustainable long-term option to be in trades, then yeah, I think it's great. But where I am like fascinated is that the rise of AI and automation is actually putting white collar jobs in jeopardy. And what there is no starker example of that than when you look at Google investing millions of dollars into the IBEW so that we can have more electricians to build data centers. Okay, well, data centers are a result of AI taking hold, which is also leading to white collar jobs being reduced or
Yeah.
eliminated, frankly. And so, like, what a visual that is that like that AI and technology are actually creating more opportunities for blue collar work while reducing opportunities for white collar work. So that to
Interesting.
me is like a conversation that needs to be front and center. And I'm like, I really want to write something on it. I just keep talking about it. I'm like, I think maybe in our next issue, I want to do something on AI and electricians because there's
Yeah.
a lot to unpack there about trends, right? It's super, super interesting. And I'm not someone who I'm for advances in technology. Like I don't, like I think a lot of people are, especially in the world I came from, Hollywood, like there's a lot of contention around AI. But it's here and
Yeah.
you can't, there's no going back. So, you need to upskill, reskill, figure it out and make it work for you. And so, yeah, I think there's never been more opportunities in light of that for blue collar and skilled trade work.
I love it. Um,
Yeah.
what is this new chapter uh, of your career? How has it reshaped the way you look at leadership versus where you've been in the corporate world, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
Hollywood, etc.? You've worked in very different industries, right? So how has your view on leadership changed, if it has at all?
I think my view coming into construction, into workforce, and into middle age, blah, um, has really I let's be generous. I'm young middle age. But I think that's honestly impacted me the most. The notion that like construction is tangible for the most part. I really am a see it to believe it person, and seeing the trajectory that women who were, maybe languishing in retail jobs or dead end jobs that were not a career, who find an apprenticeship and who become a tradesperson, there is concrete, evidence that this can fundamentally change her life, her family's life, and and society broadly when you have more perspectives building something, right? So I don't need to convince myself of anything. Whereas in other industries, maybe it was a little more fluff, it was a little more just
Sure.
pixels, right? Now we're really doing real stuff here. And then like the age thing is fascinating. Like I've had startups before, I've been in leadership roles before, and I've never felt more like aligned, where I still feel like youthful enough to have like all of the energy and enthusiasm I've always have and energy. But I have seen it. I've seen it's not my first time at the movies, right? Like I know that the last mile is a very empty space. And so if you're willing to just go a little further, try a little harder, and, stand strong in the face of a lot of obstacles, you're probably going to succeed. And so I just feel really, I've never been more sure of what I'm working on being the right thing for me to be working on, and for myself and Angie, my co founder, to be the right women for the job. And that's never to say I don't have questions every day, I don't have insecurities, but if not us, then who? And, there's kind of a rallying cry of mutual aid, which is the notion that we're sort of, we're all we've got, we're all we need. And that's really what I believe to be true, is like we need to take care of each other with the unique abilities that we have, and build coalitions to, ensure the sustainability of it and bring in the right skill. But you just, yeah, like life's short and then you die, basically. So why not go for it? There we go. That's a good end to my philosophical rant.
I love it. I love that for you. I mean, I really do. I think that you're right. I don't know you super well. I haven't known you a super long period of time, but I do know that from what I've met of you, this is the right time. You are the right person. You have the lived experience that, and not that anybody's lived experience is not valid, but this is validating to your mission now, and your passion and your fire and your conviction behind it really has come across every time that we've interacted. And so I'm just, from a guy that you barely know, I'm really proud of you, and really proud of your co-founder and the entire team that's been working on this. It's really a very cool thing. So looking ahead 5 years, what does the industry look like to you in 5 years, the industrial world?
I think that we're going to see a big pendulum swing to the trades and manufacturing and construction being a lot more respected and a lot more glamorized. Like I really do think like the trades are due for a glow up, a little bit of the Hollywood razzle dazzle. And I never want to like convey to any young woman or any person that this isn't hard work. It's not glamorous. You are going to be sweaty and dirty and you might lose a fingernail or two. Like there's nothing I want to sugarcoat. And it also is predominantly men. So like you might be the only woman on a work site. That said, I think we're sort of on the edge of the zeitgeist right now, like where these narratives, these trends, like I think we're kind of move over Bob is a little ahead of the curve, but I really believe that we will not be the only ones forging ahead in this space. And that's because I think there is so much money to be made. And that is not what drives me personally. But hey, if I'm going to work this hard and build a workforce, like I'm not mad at it. But no, but frankly, there is so much money to make for the lifestyle that is required to live in these industries. You do not show up to it's not a 9 to 5 where you're wearing your business casual. You need industrial PPE, workwear. And then think about if you're working outside, you need shampoo and conditioner that's going to get all the dirt out. You need really good sunscreen. You need really good deodorant. And I feel like the consumer brand side of this has not even stepped up in any way yet. I mean, very occasionally you see a welder take off their hat and it's a ponytail and you're like, wow. But
Yeah.
I think once brands realize, and once more of the construction and manufacturing industries realize, like, this is an urgent moment to meet.
Yeah.
And we got to get these women we got to get more people into the fold. Let's say people, right? That's what's going to create this like compounding effect of the trades being positioned as more desirable. And it's just a different set of parameters that women need, like a different kind of lens and filter. It's going to look a little different. And I hope we're at the forefront of that. But I very much think in the next 5 years, there will be far more attention, opportunities, pathways, and visibility for all of these jobs, and much less so on college.
Yeah. And I think back to, I used to build houses, right? That was how I got started in the industrial world. when was building houses in the very early 2000s, the idea of women's workwear was like a pink hard hat, right? Or
Yeah.
pink gloves. There wasn't women's PPE. There wasn't women's that wasn't pink, right? And so the fact that there are brands now that are coming out with welding smocks, the Carhartt style canvas that are made for women's bodies,
Yeah.
is so very important. So I think you're right. I think that we're progressing faster than we have in the previous 25 years. In the last 3 or 4 years, we're moving a lot faster. I do see publications like What About Bob, or Move Over Bob, not What About Bob, Move Over Bob, being pivotal in that, because you are shining a light not on necessarily that negative side, but you are shining the light on, hey, these women are being represented, these young people are being represented. We need workwear that fits
Yeah.
these bodies, right? Am I wrong in that statement?
No, it's literally the bare minimum that you can walk onto a job site and do
Yeah.
your job safely. Like, how can we even have a conversation that, like, about anything in around women in the workforce if they don't have the clothes they need to actually perform their job? And, I mentioned the consumer thing, like, a little flippantly about the money making, but guess what? The electricians I talk to, like these first and second year apprentices, the only thing they're jealous of the guys is that they have cuter clothes. And so, like, it's one thing to have the clothes you need to do your job safely. You need deep pockets, you need, things you can kneel in and like that stretch, but come, whatever. But let's maybe have two colors, or let's maybe have
Right.
three styles, right? And so that's where, like, you just can't expect 14-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, 18-year-old girls to take this seriously if they don't have any opportunity to have any self-expression in their work. Like, every men have endless options of PPE and workwear that fit their style. And obviously that is so secondary, tertiary, downstream of what the big issues are. But all of this is a consideration point when you're thinking about your
Absolutely.
future and how you fit in. So that's where I'm really excited to put like more pressure, or at least like raise awareness among the CMOs and, big marketers at companies that either are making these products or could be at least tailoring their products to these audiences, because you got to see it. You got to see it. You got to see yourself in these jobs, or you're just not going to think that it's a possibility for you, which is
Yeah.
so sad, because women actually make fantastic skilled tradespeople, and in all construction roles, actually, we just bring a different perspective.
I have worked with a number of, interviewed, talked with, worked with a number of CTE programs in high schools across the US, and specifically in the welding trades, women are hands down the better welder when the young women get into the welding trades. It's just there's something about the stability, the ability to focus on dropping a good bead that women do very well. And so yeah, I completely agree. Uh, how can people get involved? Whether they're here in Arizona, I do have audience outside of Arizona. How can people get involved with Move Over Bob?
I'm so glad you asked. A good place to start is moveoverbob.com. That really shows who we are, what we're about, how to find us. But I'm always looking for incredible women to profile in the magazine, to bring with me to schools to speak and demo their trades. And then really our success is really contingent on the construction and manufacturing industries supporting us. And so
Yeah.
we're always looking for advertisers, sponsors, and companies who see the ROI, and that might not be dollar for dollar tomorrow. I can't hand you 7 apprentices tomorrow on a platter, although we might still be doing that anyway. But yeah, companies who see, and associations really, who see what we're doing and want to be part of it, but don't really have the capacity or interest or prioritization to do it themselves, right? And good luck if you want to try. I would say join the party. Like, we love all types of partnerships.
And I I think you called me an honorary Bob, so I'm very excited to be an honorary Bob. Um, and so I do want to make sure that anybody listening, uh, reach out to Kate. You can find her contact information below in the show notes, and the link to moveoverbob.com. Please reach out, get involved in this. I don't care what trade you're in. This is a very important magazine to have in schools, and I just am so tickled that it has gotten the traction so far that it has. So, Kate, again, congratulations. Last question: what haven't I asked you that you want to share with the audience?
Oh, I think we have not. I think you brought up the honorary Bob thing, and I just want to say, like, we are not anti-Bob. Bob
No.
is core to all that we do. We have a love letter to Bob on our website if you want to check it out. But this is fully done in collaboration with and support of the Bobs of the world. So that is, I always want to make sure we're not the like, we're not anti-men at all. Like, we're just saying, hey, scoot over a little bit. Like, let us build this table with you.
Yeah, and I love that. I will also link to that love letter, because I think that was one of the first things that I commented on your website was that love letter, because it's very heartfelt, and you can tell that you're trying to make space for everybody, right? And I think that's really important for people to know. This isn't Kate and team trying to kick Bob's out or Jim's out of the trades, right? This is Kate saying, hey, you can sit with half your butt cheek on the chair and let me have half of my butt cheek on the chair, and let's build this together. And I think that that's a really important distinction.
Right. And your life is going to be so much better when you have more women in charge of shit. Like, come on. It's like,
absolutely,
like, this is not like this is not a coup, people. This is really, please don't quote me on that on LinkedIn. But no, this is for everyone to do better. Like, at the end of the day, we just want to like take off our pants and get comfy and have a beer and relax with our families and make money. And we need more talent and perspective to achieve that.
Yeah. And if we are truly going to rebuild the middle class in this country, it's going to take men and women to do that in the skilled trades, right? We, from the manufacturing side, from the construction side, we saw a contraction of the middle class when we started offshoring jobs, when we started doing things in the construction industry that really limited the growth and ability and future pathways for people. So we have the ability to do this together, and it's going to take both men and women to get there and rebuild this middle class. So, Kate, on that note, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an awesome conversation. You are an absolute rock star. And like I said, I'm a little like starstruck every time I hang out with you. So thank you for being here today and having this conversation. You may be thinking, why do I need to attend Med Device Boston? Because you're going to do more than browse. You'll build your pipeline. You'll see, you'll touch, and you'll engage with innovative solutions from 200 plus suppliers while participating in hands-on workshops, expert-led education sessions, and curated matchmaking, all engineered to accelerate your projects. Whether you're solving design, regulatory, or production challenges, Med Device gives you key conversations, timely insights, and the tools to move forward. Med Device Boston. Advance your pipeline, advance your network, advance what's next.